The following podcast is a W2M Network original production. Visit W2Mnet.com for all of our other great podcasts, plus news, reviews, articles, and opinions from the worlds of wrestling, video games, football, and entertainment.
Без тебя высоко не взлетит, без тебя никогда не победит.
Bing, 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 bing. Oh, sorry. That song's actually good. So that's the official Russian anthem for the World Cup 2018. So if you're in Russia, actually, at the stadiums or just there for the World Cup atmosphere, you'll probably be hearing that song. So we have reached the end of our World Cup previews. This is Group H, I guess you could call it the actual true group of life. I know I joked about Group D being that, but this one, literally all four could get out of this group. Or maybe two of them just look really bad. I don't know. This is like really up in the air because you could really make the argument Poland should not have been a number one seed, but that's FIFA's rankings for you. That's how they work. Either way, you got Poland. You got Colombia, Los Cafeteros. You've got Senegal, and you've got Japan. Komendasai, Japan. But you might be the lowest ranked one of all. The four teams here. So Rachel has Poland. I have Japan and Colombia. And Erik is focusing on Senegal. Guys, we made it to the end. We just got the big show left.
I mean, hurrah, but about that song, let's face it, even the Russians can even make a song about Putin sound good. So they know what they're doing, at least in that area.
How do you know it's about Putin? Not everything has to do with the guy.
Oh, yes.
I'm not saying that the anthem is about Putin. I'm just saying I heard a song they had devoted to Putin, and it was actually catchy. Disturbing, but catchy.
God.
I apply that
if
to
it's the same one I'm thinking of, yeah, that's not just disturbing. That's like, I don't know if there's a worse word than that, but it's that.
That's
creepy,
why I went with disturbing.
I'm sorry, Rachel.
You know what? When you get, like, triple security checked at the airport, nothing bothers you anymore.
That's true. Not
This
too many
is
experiences like that one.
This is why whenever I deal with TSA agents, I'm like, look, I'm wearing a kilt for a reason. This is going to be just as weird for you as it is for me. Let's get to this.
Erik Watkins, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah. I don't know that I... Damn it, Erik. I don't want that image in my head right now. Why?
We're too sober for this.
Yes.
Hey, I'm sober too, so I don't know what you're talking about.
Well, okay. Let's get into this here. Poland probably has, if you're talking about in the European realm, the star player of the entire group in Robert Lewandowski. But what about the rest of the team, Rachel?
That's the thing. What about the rest of the team? I mean, you know, Robert Lewandowski is your bread and butter if you're Poland, because he's literally the only big name you have. I mean, there's not a lot of experience on this team. There are some clubs that you have to look at like, oh, okay, maybe. You have somebody for Wolfsburg. You have somebody for Monaco in France, couple Italian club members in here, goalkeeper from Juventus. But really, there's just it's Robert Lewandowski's team, And in the end, I don't think that's going to be enough for Poland. One thing I do like is that their manager has been with them since 2013. So I like that there's a lot of familiarity. There's not going to be a lot of confusion with what does he want? What is he expecting? But yeah, I don't know if he's enough for them to make it past a kind of tough group, because there's no way they're making it past Colombia. And God only knows what they're going to do against Japan and Senegal.
I feel like you're not really having to worry that much about what they're going to do, because it may be more about what the other teams do, allowing Poland to do something. Oh my God. I love that you hit pause on something and it still plays the damn thing anyway. So anyway, the thing is too, I wonder about their preparation for this. They were in one of the weakest groups in Group E, which also leads to why Robert Lewandowski scored 16 goals. I mean, they finished like 5 points ahead of Denmark, which is their highest competition. Montenegro, it's been a while since they were relevant, and everybody else is just rather weak. I mean,
well, not to mention Montenegro was a newly formed formation. They used to be Serbia and Montenegro, and
correct.
Before that, Yugoslavia. So,
and I mean, when one of your highlighted players is Wojciech Szczesny, I don't know. I just remember him being so mediocre for Arsenal. I know he's played better for Juventus lately, but look, it's going to be all about how do we get the ball to Robert Lewandowski. The problem is that you're playing two teams that are all about setting up on the counter. And then you have Senegal, who has one of the best center backs in the entire world. So he might find it difficult to get service to him, let alone get around your defenders to put the ball in the net. So,
well, and if he can't get service, then there's your entire game. I mean, I don't see any of these other players quite just stealing the spotlight. You know what I mean? I don't really see them just kind of taking the reins and being like, this isn't Robert Lewandowski's team, this is my team. I don't see it. I don't see them doing too much. Like you said, Sean, I don't see them being a threat all too much. It'll be interesting, I think.
Yeah, that's what makes this group interesting, is that, like I said, any of these guys, any of these teams could get out of this, because so many things could happen. You could have Colombia do their thing like last World Cup and absolutely dominate. You could have Lewandowski actually go out there and score goals. Or you could have Senegal absolutely surprise and come out like they were in African qualifying. Or it seems rather unlikely, but Japan could also, with their new coach that I think has coached them for like possibly 2 or 3 games at the most, for them to do something with an older squad. But yeah, Eric, I mentioned Senegal several times. They have a very key man at the back and a very key man at the front. My question is, does the coach know where to put Sadio Mane?
Okay. Let me ask you this. You have 23 roster spots for your World Cup, right?
Right.
You typically bring 3 keepers, so you have 20 field players, right?
Right.
On average, about how many of those 20 do you expect to be strikers?
I'd say you have to at least bring 3, 4.
6.
No, but most of the time, like, your bare minimum is 4, usually.
Okay, take that bare minimum and double it.
8?
Yes. Senegal. 7 defenders, 5 midfielders, and 8 strikers.
That's because they are highly athletic.
And because they're going to win the World Cup with that.
What? Really? I mean, yeah, you have Sadio Mane, you have Mame Biram Diouf, you have Musa Sow. They've combined for over 40 goals, which is fantastic. What? You have everybody in your midfield is playing for an English club. You know, you have Idrissa Gueye for Everton. You have Kouyaté for West Ham United. You have Cheikh Ndoye for Birmingham City. You have 2 Ndiayes who are spelled differently. One for Wolves, one for Stoke City. And given their record in friendlies, and like we were discussing with Nigeria when we talked about them, they also had to do this split with the African Nations Championship and the West African Football Union Nations Cup, where they had were exclusively domestic-based players. They were kind of mediocre in both tournaments. Yet when you have your international players, you're slightly better than mediocre. I mean, yeah, you're unbeaten in 6, but 3 of those straight were draws, and you haven't scored more than twice. I'm just thoroughly confused.
Right, and I think that's the thing, though. I think Aliou Cisse doesn't know what he wants to do with this team, other than obviously Koulibaly. He's gonna be at the back, anchoring everything.
Yeah.
And you can either play Sadio Mane as the playmaker, or you can play him up front. And I would imagine that with the options that you brought yourself, you're planning to play Mane as the playmaker, and you use a Mame Diouf or Mba Niang up front because you brought 8 strikers. You might as well use them.
If you come out and play anything other than a 4-2-4, I will fly over there and smack you.
I wouldn't be surprised if it's more of a 4-3-3 as well, but
I wouldn't even do that much.
He's only got 5 midfielders. You might as well. You got to put at least 3 out there.
Why?
He could also put one of his forwards as a midfielder. I mean, you got to remember, if you're going to play the 4-3-3 and you're going to have Mane as one of your midfielders, he's also one of your strikers. So that takes up your spot.
I mean, look, if you want to figure out how to turn this into the sandwich formation, be my guest.
I don't think that you can put. I know you have the ability to, but I don't think you could put 4 up front like that.
Well, you wouldn't have to put all 4 of them up front. Do like I do. Those that have the ability up front, 2 up top and 2 in kind of like a supporting wing. This would be like a double midfield modified X formation.
Oh Lord, you're losing me here, but.
Okay, the 2 centrally, 2 defenders is kind of acting as wings, or you do a flat back 4, 2 central midfielders, 2 strikers as attackers on the wings. 2
okay,
up
I feel
top.
like I'm listening to a math problem.
Okay, that's not an X formation. What the hell does that look? That's a 10. It's the 10 formation. There we go. Because it looks like the number 10.
Fair enough. They have the ability, the athleticism to play wingers if they want to. I think you're relying a lot on your back 4 or back 3 possibly to do a lot of your work to keep the offense from scoring goals. along with the keeper, and then you're hitting them hard attacking wise. That's either gonna score them a lot of goals or they're gonna get scored on a lot. One of the other two, and maybe that's enough to get you 3 points with Japan, and who knows with Poland? I don't know. Or they just look all sorts of confused and they get absolutely destroyed by everyone and they get nothing. I think it's going to be one extreme or the other for Senegal, honestly.
If I were to hedge a bet, I would definitely say on them being crashed out. But now that I think of it, that 10 formation is going to be very... I got to see how I can implement that somehow. See, Sean, you gave me an idea. This is perfect.
I'm glad I can help you with your top 11 as we work this out here.
Hey, the sandwich formation got the U.S. to the top 8 in the World Cup. We lost the quarterfinal to, of all teams, Poland. That stings a little bit.
Oh, come on now. That's just sad.
Especially after we beat Ghana 6-0 and we came back and beat Slovakia in the round of 16. I gotta see what the hell went wrong.
Speaking of Ghana, you know they dissolved their FA today. So
they what?
They dissolved, or they're taking steps to dissolve, their FA because a BBC documentary exposed the Ghana FA president for taking $65,000 in corruption and fraud and everything else.
Okay, so I hope for their sake they rebuild. And secondly, $65,000? I'm sorry, that he did that for cheap.
I want $65,000. I don't know about you.
No, I'm saying, hey, I will take $65,000, but if I'm doing this and you're buying my vote, we gotta start at least 6 figures, hypothetically.
Well, I've discussed Japan here, and they didn't have the greatest of qualifying campaigns. They topped the group barely above Saudi Arabia and Australia, and Vahid Halilovic got canned, and former Japan player took over instead, and he barely has any time with the team at all. I think he had the pre-tournament friendlies, and that's pretty much it. And
Halilovic.
Thank you. You said that way better than I was ever going to dream of saying it. So I appreciate that. So here's one that I can say: Akira Nishino. He is the current manager. Much easier to say. They're going to rely on their 3-headed aging monster of Shinji Kagawa, Keisuke Honda, and Okazaki. And I don't know that that's enough because we've seen Kagawa go absolutely absent in big games before, and then it's all on Honda, and he's now playing at Pachuca, which I think says a lot compared to where he was playing before that. I don't know. I think Okazaki's done well, but this is a team that's setting up to defend, and if they can get a break, and they can, the creative two can come up with a combination, then yeah, this will work. But I could see Japan just not getting anything as well. This is not one of the best squads that they brought, and I think it's going to show by the end of it.
I mean, they did find really a good replacement, even though personally I can't stand Gamba Osaka, and that's where Nishino managed previously. I don't know. I guess maybe if they get anything, it'll be a minor miracle, but the timing couldn't really have been much worse for this team.
I mean, they're not the. There's several teams that are in the World Cup right now that went through the same thing. So
True.
yeah, they haven't even played any of their friendlies. They play their first friendly against Switzerland today, the 8th. And then they play their last one against Paraguay on the 12th.
Wow.
Oh, wait, no, they played one in May. They lost to Ghana 2-0 in Japan.
Wow.
Which I think was Nishino's first game. So
the Blue Samurai could be on the verge of committing seppuku. Wow.
Yeah, Switzerland's going to probably put quite a few on them, and they might do something against Paraguay, but I don't see it. I mean, again, I don't want to make too much of freaking pre-tournament friendlies, but I don't think it's the greatest sign that you're having to figure things out right before the World Cup begins.
Boy.
I think if we see Japan get 3 points, I think that's a win for them, all things considered, honestly.
Yeah, I can't argue against that. Wow. Anybody betting on this group is just going to have a field day.
I think they're going to have to rely on the other teams making mistakes, which is possible, but it would have to be all three of them, or at least two, making it happen. And I think you've got two skilled enough teams in all three of them, really, that it's going to be difficult if you're hoping for something like that.
Start working on a counter to the 10 formation, Japan. It's your best shot.
So here's the team that I would think, even though they didn't have the most impressive qualifying campaigns because they qualified on the last day in Colombia, but they were the darlings of the World Cup last go-around, and that was without Falcao. And that's where James Rodriguez got on the scene, went to Real Madrid, did decently well. He's at Bayern Munich, doing pretty well for himself. The man you can't call James, it's James. And yeah, I mean, he also Juan Cuadrado comes back, David Ospina in goal. They've got a much younger defense that is, I think, even perhaps better than the previous one they brought. I think a guy that everybody's going to be watching is Davinson Sanchez. He's 21, but he plays supremely well there at center back. Santiago Arias is another guy defending that you're going to want to watch. But this is another team that they're going to make you have to work for it, and they're going to pounce when you make a mistake. And between Cuadrado, James, and Falcao, they're going to make you pay, because Falcao's been doing pretty well at Monaco as well. And they can play various formations too, because Jose Pekerman is a dude like that. He likes to kind of tinker a little bit with the team, even though they might still be the same players. So you might see him playing in different spots. And they have their first game is against Japan. So if you give them the confidence of possibly getting 3 points early, watch out. And they have depth in various places where even when they make substitutions, I don't think they're going to miss too much. So
I think, if anything, this could be a good enough group that I think could propel Colombia. Again, they've got a lot of their core, and they've gotten stronger. In key places, they've gotten younger. And yeah, even though with their qualifying campaign it was shaky, really, who didn't have ups and downs in CONMEBOL outside of Brazil? So this is setting up really the best out of just about anybody for this team.
yeah, because they they sort of have a complete squad. They have a very dependable goalkeeper. They have a defense that you can also depend on to continue to keep things going forward. A midfield spine there, and you have the man up front that you want leading the line. A guy you can certainly count on to put the ball in the back of the net in Falcao. So, and you got two highly talented guys feeding him the ball. I mean, it's something that, again, it's not a done deal, but when you're looking at the group, you'd think Colombia with the talent. The thing is that Colombia sort of tends to play down to their opposition. They'll beat the big teams, or they'll draw with the big teams, and then when they gotta lower it down, or they're not as hyped to play some of the smaller teams, the teams that aren't big time, they play like it, and they don't play that well. So, could they come out flat against Japan or something like that, or just take forever to finally find that goal? Maybe the whole group is like this because they don't feel like they really need to hit third gear. I don't know. That could be the one thing I think that could do them in, is if they get too overconfident and don't just put the pedal down and go, okay, let's just knock this out, get the points we need, and get going to the bigger teams that we care about.
Absolutely, because, let's just say be prepared for a lot of quirky, a lot of very ugly games.
I mean, you're not kidding. But that's sort of the way things have been. Like, looking back at qualifying, they go and barely beat Bolivia 1-0. They beat Ecuador 2-0. They draw with Spain in Spain. They go and beat Cameroon in Spain. Then they can't score a goal against Venezuela. That's where my family's from, but let's not kid around about what kind of soccer team that is. They lose to Paraguay. They draw with Peru, who's also in this World Cup. They lost to freaking South Korea. I mean, then they did well against France. They draw against Australia. They draw with no goals against Egypt. And the Egypt game was the first and only pre-World Cup friendly, which was played in Italy. So they played against Egypt, drew nillers. And this is the team without Sadio Mane, by the way. And then they're going into the World Cup. So, I don't know. That's the only thing that worries me is, do they play down their competition and don't just try to take them out? But I think you're still looking at a team that should be qualifying. Whether it's first or second, who knows? But, yeah.
I just hope that they learn their lesson from the past, from what happened in Brazil, and that way they do kind of play up. But, there's just question marks.
Yeah, certainly. This whole group is a bunch of question marks. So that's what's going to make the Sunday show, or maybe we'll talk about possibly doing that a day earlier. I don't know. We need to discuss that now because I realized what I have going on Sunday and I forgot. But we'll figure that out off air. Hey, we made it to the end. This is it. Group previews have finished. We just got to give all the predictions in one show. And then, hey, Thursday, June 14th, that's the first kickoff game. Russia and Saudi Arabia. What a moment for the country. Hopefully it's a big moment for Russia when we're talking about the games. And then that next day. It better be. Damn right it better be. That'd be really embarrassing.
Or Putin won't be the only one on their ass.
Yeah.
Well, the good news is I believe that's going to start at 11 a.m. Eastern.
Yes.
We're going to be taking some later lunch breaks than usual, starting on the 14th.
Yep, so get ready, folks. It's not too far away. We're officially 6 days away now from the start of that. Whew, less than a week, guys. It's crazy that we're that close. But yes, if you like what you heard here, make sure you listen, because aside from the big prediction show that we still have left, we're going to be doing World Cup daily. We're going to be every day when there's games that night at some point, or perhaps early in the morning, depending on how long if we're doing it at 11 to 12, perhaps it's the next day when it actually publishes. But still, get ready, because every night that there are games, we'll be doing our analysis on those games. Highlights provided in there too, just for fun and getting to relive some of the cool goals. And yeah, whether it's, can't guarantee it'll be the full team every day, because every day changes. It is summertime. People want to do things, but man, it's the big event that only happens every 4 years. We're going to treat it like a huge event, at least here for the podcast. So you'll want to subscribe, because that way every time we do a show, as soon as it hits, it's there for you. You hit refresh and it appears in your catalog of whatever podcast service you use. So make sure you check it out. And if you enjoyed it even more, you can give us that 5 stars on iTunes or wherever it is you listen, and we'd greatly appreciate that. Well, until the big predictions show this weekend, we'll see everybody later.
Peace!
See ya.